Carlos Santana concealed it for decades. The moments when he pleaded for the misery to end, the treachery, the pain. We witnessed the rock icon, the man who took over Woodstock, but we were unaware of his 7 attempted suicides. At 77, Santana is now sharing more than just his darkest moments. He is revealing the truth about his music and how it influenced his life, as well as his spirit. Let's tell the whole tale. Early in childhood, Carlos Santana had a lot of turmoil and hardship. In 1947, he was born in Mexico. Carlos learned to play music at a young age from his father, who played violin in mariachi bands. Carlos's family relocated to Tijuana when he was 8 years old. His life was drastically altered by this action. Carlos witnessed the TJs, a fantastic rock band, perform in a park in Tijuana. He became enamored with rock and blues music as a result. However, not everything in Tijuana was positive. Carlos endured a terrible ordeal for 2 years. He was abused by an American man in ways that no youngster should ever experience. In order to keep Carlos calm, this man would frequently bring him across the border and buy him clothes and toys. Only when Carlos was struck by the man for staring at a woman through a window did it stop. Carlos felt bad about this terrible period for years. Carlos began playing guitar in Tijuana strip clubs at the age of 15. For a youngster, it was a difficult situation. He witnessed a number of frightening incidents, such as a police officer abusing a female employee. However, Carlos was also able to develop his unique mix by playing in these clubs of rock and blues-infused Latin music. Carlos Santana was employed as a dishwasher at the TikTok drive-in in the early 1960s. Despite his meager income, he saved every cent he could. His dream was to purchase a new Stratocaster guitar and immigration documents. He discovered one day that his mother had spent $300, all of his funds, on his sister's dental care. She only returned $20 to Carlos when he questioned her about it. He fled home because he was so hurt. He returned to Tijuana with just the $20, where he made a living by performing in strip bars. For Carlos, life in San Francisco was difficult. He shared a cramped apartment with several musicians in the Mission District. He slept on the floor because there was not even a bed. He lived largely on rice and beans, worked long hours cleaning dishes, and could hardly buy food. He played using broken guitar strings or anything he could find because he didn't have enough money for new ones. Despite the difficult circumstances, he continued to pursue his musical career. Carlos performed on the streets of San Francisco prior to his rise to fame. He performed for hours at venues like Union Square and Fisherman's Wharf. He earned less than $5 on some days. He heard a variety of music, including jazz and folk, while he was playing. By learning to incorporate these noises into his own manner, he was able to attract onlookers' attention. When Santana started his first band, the Santana Blues Band, in 1966, it was a game-changer. It all fell into place by accident. He met keyboard player Greg Rowley through Tom Fraser, whom he met while working at the drive-in. Marcus Malone on drums and David Brown on bass were among the other musicians they brought in. Michael Carabello offered the band's name, Santana, since it sounded catchy. Santana's ascent to popularity seemed to be predetermined. Bill Graham, a promoter who had faith in the band, gave them their big break at Woodstock. Graham was assisting with the festival's planning and advised the organizers that if they wanted Santana's assistance, they had to involve him. Santana wasn't well known at the time. The majority of the 400,000 attendees at Woodstock were unaware of their identity, and they hadn't even released their debut album. Not long ago, the band was just a local San Francisco outfit that had been performing in little bars in locations like Tijuana. They were assigned a 45-minute time slot on the afternoon of August 16, 1969. Their participation was even more unexpected because of this position, which placed them between well-known acts like Creedence Clearwater Revival and the Grateful Dead. Carlos Santana's mental state during the Woodstock concert was what made it even more amazing. He was only 22. And unexpectedly ran across the Grateful Dead's Jerry Garcia. Santana believed they wouldn't perform until much later that evening, perhaps around 3 in the morning, after flying into the event. Garcia gave Santana a substance to sample while they waited, which could have been mescaline, peyote, or another potent psychedelic. Santana was seriously hit by the repercussions. He was already in the middle of a fascinating journey when the time came to perform earlier than anticipated. He was frightened when he saw his guitar neck slithering like a snake on stage. Santana closed his eyes and played, relying on his fingers to locate the perfect notes to keep himself grounded. He even prayed at one point, pleading with God to spare him from humiliation in front of the enormous throng. For Santana, Woodstock was a life-changing event. They became overnight celebrities as a result of their performance. Carlos was accurate when Bill Graham said that fame would hit him hard after the festival. On August 30, 1969, Santana's debut album was released, just 2 weeks after Woodstock. The moment was ideal. All of a sudden, they became a national sensation rather than just a local band. The band was able to take advantage of its popularity thanks to Graham, securing their appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show in October 1969 and booking them for important events such as the Gold Rush Festival. These chances cemented their increasing renown. The debut album by Santana was a big hit. The self-titled album peaked at number 4 in November 1969 and remained on the Billboard 200 pop album chart for an amazing 108 weeks. The song Evil Ways became their major hit, but their debut single, Jingo, barely reached number 56. It lasted 13 weeks at the top of the charts after rising at number 9. It's interesting to note that Bill Graham pushed the band to cover Willie Bobo's rendition of Evil Ways, which is why the song was included on the CD. In addition to bringing Carlos Santana notoriety, the album's popularity enabled him to fulfill a pledge he had made to his mother. He bought her a house with his first royalty check and made sure it had a new refrigerator and everything else she wanted. This marked the beginning of the career that would turn Santana into a rock star. In the meanwhile, in 1973, Carlos Santana wed Deborah King, the daughter of blues artist Saunders King. At the height of his musical career, they began their life together after meeting during a concert at the Marin Civic Center. They developed a friendship that went beyond marriage over time. It was a business partnership as well. Deborah was crucial to Santana's career in financial management, particularly in the 1990s, when Carlos acknowledged he may have been left penniless without her assistance. They had 3 kids together: Angelica, a writer and film producer; Stella, a singer and composer; and Salvador, who went on to become a songwriter and bandleader. In addition to their 34-year marriage, they had a solid business partnership. They assumed complete management of the Santana Band in 1994, and Deborah served as Santana Management's vice president and COO until 2007. In 1998, they also established the Milagro Foundation, which provided aid to impoverished children across numerous nations. Deborah had a significant role in Carlos's 1999 album Supernatural, which won 9 Grammy Awards and went platinum 15 times. However, their union was not as flawless as it appeared. Deborah disclosed Carlos's infidelity in her 2005 memoir, Space Between the Stars. Their 2007 divorce was caused by this discovery as well as other problems. Carlos came clean about his adultery after the memoir was released. He expressed his sincere guilt and offered Deborah and their kids his apology for the pain he had caused. He pledged to be the kind of man she wanted him to be, explaining that he wasn't in the appropriate frame of mind at the moment. A larger crisis in Carlos' spiritual life was linked to his difficulties during this time. He had previously been a disciple of Sri Chinmoy, but he left his teachings in 1982 due to differences of opinion regarding personal preferences. Carlos suffered greatly as a result of the divorce. It caused him to reach his lowest moment in life, which resulted in 7 attempts at suicide. He thought that death could be preferable to the agony because he was in so much anguish. But something always stopped him when he tried. He claimed to have heard the words, "I'm sitting next to you," in a quiet but firm voice. Isn't that sufficient? He was able to draw himself back from the edge thanks to these times, a candle, and a picture of Jesus. With time, he began to enjoy the little things in life, like breathing and eating. The anguish of the divorce also evoked recollections of a horrific childhood incident in which a father's friend sexually assaulted him when he was 10 years old. He eventually found the strength to forgive his abuser because to his faith, and he described forgiveness as liberating. He has had many highs and lows in his spiritual path. The moniker Devadip, which means the lamp, light, and eye of God, was bestowed upon him by his teacher in 1973. Carlos eventually found peace when he converted to Christianity after departing from the guru's teachings. He talked about quitting from music to become a church pastor in 2015 since he was so devoted to his beliefs. In Maui, Hawaii, he even intended to start a church. At 52, Carlos Santana made a spectacular return in 1999. Supernatural, the album he released, went on to become one of the greatest hits in music history. 30 million copies of the album were sold worldwide. This occurred as a result of Clive Davis, who had signed Santana to Columbia Records in 1969, approaching him with a proposal to collaborate once more. There was a significant risk. due to the fact that Santana hadn't had a hit in the top 10 since 1971. However, it turned out differently than anyone had anticipated. Santana tied Michael Jackson for the most Grammys ever won in a single night when he won 9 trophies at the 2000 Grammy Trophies. The album spent 12 weeks at the top of the US charts and reached number 1 in 11 other nations. In addition, Santana became the first Hispanic performer to win Album of the Year at the Grammy Awards. Smooth, one of Supernatural's most well-known songs, nearly didn't make it. Room 17, the song's original basic concept, was about a groupie meeting Santana in a hotel. A&R executive Pete Gonbarg advocated for the song because he believed the album needed a major smash. At first, Santana showed no interest, and Clive Davis had to persuade him with a personal message. When Rob Thomas, the song's writer and singer, became engaged, he was leading a relaxed life in Manhattan. Santana claimed that having the band and Thomas perform the song live in the studio sent a positive wave through the room. The outcome was a huge success. Smooth spent 12 weeks at the top of the Billboard Hot 100, making it the final number 1 song of the 1990s and the first of the 2000s. It remained on the chart for 58 weeks overall, spending 30 weeks in the top 10. The success of Santana's life is a testament to the power of hard effort. He relocated to San Francisco in the early 1960s and found employment as a dishwasher. In exchange for tips, he often performed music on the streets. His current estimated net worth is $120 million. After Supernatural, which sold over $375 million, his success took off. Santana has real estate holdings, including a $20.5 million villa in Hawaii and a $6 million house in Las Vegas. He is also a savvy businessman who founded the Maria Maria network of Mexican eateries. With Roberto Santibanez, the chef, Santana hasn't slowed down at all, even at 77. He still performs in Las Vegas at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino's House of Blues. After 13 years, his residency, An Intimate Evening with Santana, Greatest Hits Live, presented by SiriusXM, has been renewed through 2025. New concerts are planned for early 2025, and he performs high-energy shows many nights a week. Along with the Rolling Stones, Santana is one of the few musicians to have an album in the top 10 in each of the 10 years since the 1960s. His commitment to giving back is demonstrated by the fact that a portion of the proceeds from his performances are donated to organizations like the House of Blues Music Forward Foundation and the Milagro Foundation. Carlos Santana needed emergency surgery for a back issue in September 2024, which forced him to postpone a number of important performances. He postponed his September 2nd performance in Phoenix and his September 4th performance at the Isleta Amphitheater in Albuquerque. Additionally, the 77-year-old guitarist, who had been playing sitting during recent concerts, postponed his residency shows at the House of Blues in Las Vegas in September and early October. Despite canceling a few gigs, he was still able to perform on August 27, 28, 30, and 31. One such performance took place at the Kia Forum in Inglewood, and it was quite unique. In honor of the 25th anniversary of his well-known album Supernatural, Santana performed 5 tracks from it. These performances demonstrated that Santana could still produce amazing music despite her health issues. Santana was embroiled in a significant controversy in 2023 as a result of remarks he made regarding gender identity at a performance in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Many were offended by his impromptu 15-minute speech. He discussed how gender is determined before birth in his address. The audience felt uneasy as a result. And once a video was posted online, the incident became global. After this, he apologized on Facebook for his insensitive remarks and acknowledged that his words had hurt people, Santana was reported as adding. He subsequently removed the apology, however, and replaced it with an enigmatic poem that said, "The energy of consciousness generates its own kind. Hatred breeds hatred. Love produces love." Given that incident occurred during a period when numerous anti-LGBTQ bills, some of which targeted transgender minors, were being introduced in the United States, this heightened the controversy. Santana also publicly backed comedian Dave Chappelle during the same Atlantic City performance. He said, "I am like this with my brother Dave Chappelle," referring to their close connection. This caused more backlash because Chappelle had faced criticism for his Netflix special, The Closer, which had controversial comments about transgender people. Santana's support for Chappelle came at a time when many U.S. states were passing laws against LGBTQ rights, and this made the situation worse. Advocacy groups, including leaders from San Francisco Pride, criticized Santana's remarks. Many civil rights organizations warned that comments like these from famous people could make life even harder for transgender individuals. The backlash was especially strong because Santana is a well-known figure in the Bay Area and has a big influence in the music world. Despite all this, Santana's music continues to shine. And his band has become a family effort. His wife, Cindy Blackman Santana, has been the band's drummer since 2015. At 64, she is an amazing musician and often steals the spotlight with her talent. At the Kia Forum show, she wowed the crowd with a stunning drum solo during the encore after Are You Ready? Carlos' son, Salvador, from his first marriage, is also part of the band. At 41, Salvador plays keyboards, percussion, and vocals, even adding rap to songs like Maria Maria. Their shows, part of the Oneness Tour, feature an 18-song setlist with both old classics and new hits. Looking ahead, Carlos and his family are preparing for an extended residency at the House of Blues Las Vegas in 2025. The show, titled An Intimate Evening with Santana, Greatest Hits Live, will run from January to May and promises to showcase their incredible musical bond. Carlos Santana, at 77, has a deep and unique way of thinking about life and mortality. His ideas come from his spiritual journey, which has shaped him over the years. He once followed Sri Chinmoya's teachings and became a born-again Christian in 1992. His wife, Cindy Blackman, has also played a big role in how he sees life and staying healthy. Together, they focus on 4 important things: diet, devotion, dedication, and discipline. Santana believes that being strong and full of life isn't just about eating the right food. It's also about feeding your mind and spirit. He says, you can eat the best food and still be weak if you don't think correctly. His spiritual life is very strong, and he once had a mystical experience with the Virgin of Guadalupe. That moment changed him deeply, and now he often asks others, what is God saying to you right now? Santana's message to his fans is bigger than music. He wants people to wake up spiritually and feel powerful in their own lives. He often tells his audience to celebrate your own light and your divinity. He thinks it's important to bring hope and courage to the world, especially when people are struggling. Santana looks at the big picture and wants to find ways to bring peace, comfort, and togetherness to everyone. He started the Milagro Foundation in 1998 to help children around the world with education and health. He also stands up for social justice and fights for what's right. At a civil rights game for the Atlanta Braves, he spoke out saying, I am here to give a voice to the invisible. His actions show that he is not only a musician, but also someone who cares deeply about making the world a better place.